LaWayra retreats in Colombia. And, I met Sam a few months ago. He's turned out to be a really good friend of ours, really starting to understand what he's doing a lot more. And let me um let me go ahead and have you introduce yourself, Sam. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Hi guys, my name is Sam, and we run an ayahuasca retreat here in Colombia. It's about an hour from Medellin. Speaking of Colombia, like that's Colombia, not Colombia, because I think some people might confuse it with a state. Colombia as a country in South America. So yeah, our retreat previously was called Ayahuasca in Colombia, but we're slowly now sort of rebranding to LaWayra because I think ayahuasca in Colombia is too ambiguous for people. But to talk about what we do, well, we organize at the moment we organize one week ayahuasca retreat every month, and we've been doing it for about 2 years now. Um, we aim to offer affordable retreats. Um, um, may I share the price, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely. Your treats are very affordable. I cannot believe. I think 4.95 for that week long, right?
495 for 1 week, and that's 4 or 5 ceremonies included, food included, and bed in the shared room included. So, and yeah, some people for some reason assume that if you're affordable, it means you're bad, but that's not the case for us.
Right.
We're affordable because we choose to be affordable. It comes from a good place, from the heart. As well, like if I can talk a bit about my history with the medicine and how it all began. I,
Sure,
w-
why don't
I Yeah, I began drinking medicine because I was never diagnosed, but I'm pretty sure I was depressed because I didn't feel right. So that's what drew me to medicine. And when I first the medicine sort of helped me take away the symptoms, not be depressed, enjoy life a bit more. And then eventually it gave me the what to do in life. Like, so it gave me, because the reason I was depressed is because I didn't have direction in life. So the medicine first like helped me feel good, and then it gave me the direction in life, which inevitably. So the direction was that it's a little woo woo, but medicine showed me that I can heal people with my hands. And I talked to shamans like, what do I do with this information? And they said you need to drink a lot of ayahuasca. So when I started drinking a lot of ayahuasca, eventually it led me to starting a retreat. And as of now, this is what we do.
let's and you were down in Colombia, and there's a little bit of a difference between Colombia and the Peru.
Yeah. So
Can
when
you
I
tell us
first,
a little bit about that?
yeah, sure. When I first came to Colombia, I was already sort of curious about ayahuasca because a friend of mine in Ecuador told me about it, and but I always thought that ayahuasca is something for Peru, maybe Ecuador, like because that those are the places that were famous. Even Costa Rica, But little did I know is that most of the ayahuasca that in Colombia, it's not only as traditional as in Peru, but it might be even more traditional than in Peru and Ecuador. It's definitely more traditional than Costa Rica because it doesn't even grow there. So it's like the beauty of Colombian ayahuasca is that it hasn't been popularized yet and haven't been overrun by tourism. Maybe that's one of the reasons that allows us to keep the prices low. And I think the main reason for that is because the name is different. If So ayahuasca has like 5 to 10 different names that I've heard about. So ayahuasca, ambihuasca, jahe. Some people call it daime. Uh, there's many more. I'm forgetting, but it's like there in the Amazon there's like hundreds of different languages, and every different language will have a different name. But it was popularized in the West on the Peruvian Shipibo people's name of ayahuasca. For example, our shaman, or the way they call shaman here in Colombia is Taita. Our Taita is from the Inga tribe, and in the Inga tribe, it's called Ambihuasca. In Colombia in general, it's called Jahe, but it's still the same thing. It's kind of like uh, Cabernet versus Merlot. Like it's still a red wine. Yeah,
Hmm.
it just has a different name. So there are slight differences in the preparation. Ayahuasca is a mix of chacruna and ayahuasca vine. And jahe is a mix of chagro and ayahuasca wine. Ayahuasca in general is a brew made of two plants. So some people add more stuff, but it's already not a pure ayahuasca. So pure ayahuasca is a MAOI inhibitor vine, which is the ayahuasca vine, Banisteriopsis capi, and it's a DMT shrub, like a bush. And the difference between Colombian and Peruvian is the different DMT bush they use. But it's still the DMT and it's still a bush. It has a similar name, but it's a different plant. It's kind of, they're related. It's kind of like much, this, what's this Argentinian tea? Mate and tea. They're related, but they're not 100% same. So yeah,
So go ahead and say, tell us a little bit. What I've known about the Colombian ayahuasca versus the Peruvian is the Peruvian is a very thicker. Is that correct? And the Colombian is a
no,
thinner brew,
in my understanding, Colombian is actually thicker. But the thing is that you can have 10 different shamans from the same country, even from the same tribe, and even in between them, they will have different recipe. It's kind
right?
of like, I think the better comparison is kind of like pizza. It's still a pizza, but it's not even a good comparison because in the pizza you have different ingredients. It's like same ingredients, but the amounts of ingredients and the amount of time you cooked, there's a lot of variation. So our Taito, for example, one time he brings ayahuasca that's super thick, like honey. They even call it miel, honey.
Yeah.
Another time he brings one that's more liquid. Sometimes it's more cooked, sometimes it's less cooked, because it's kind of like weather, they just feel what's right for this specific brew, and then they feel that it's time to stop cooking. It's hard to explain. The process is um, not really standardized by any means.
But always the same effect almost, it's
The,
all about healing. So,
yeah, you will, no matter how you call it, and no matter which tribe it comes from, you will get the healing. Some better than others, but it's still ayahuasca.
right. And let's talk a little bit about taitas. You call them taitas. Most people know as shamans, but taitas is what we know them as in Colombia. And, you know, a lot of people avoid this medicine because of some of these fear factors and some of these stories they hear. So let's
Mhm.
talk a little bit about, like, I don't want to say good or bad, but educated and maybe not educated. I don't know.
Yeah, well, here in Colombia they call them taitas. I know in Ecuador they call mayores, and there's also different names, same as with ayahuasca. Call it
Right.
shaman, whatever you call it. A person that cooks the medicine, the person that serves you the medicine, and person that controls the spiritual space is a taita or a shaman. Honestly, I can talk about, like, people always ask me, like, is ayahuasca safe? And I will say it is safe if you have three factors that you cover: good taita or good shaman, good medicine, and a good preparation. So if you follow all the three steps, then it's safe. The good shaman is the most important part, because any indigenous person can put a crown of feathers, lots of
Yes.
necklaces with teeth and all the rattling. It's not going to make him a shaman. A shaman is really, think about shaman as like a surgeon, but instead of making surgery on your body, he makes a surgery on your soul, which is, maybe even more important than, it's kind of like a neurosurgeon. How many years it takes a neurosurgeon to become one, right? Maybe like
Right.
20 years, right? So
Right.
it's same with the shaman. So there's a lot of people that drink ayahuasca 5 times, and they feel the calling to be a healer, like I received at my, it was my seventh ceremony, I believe, and the medicine gave me the gift of the healing. But it doesn't mean that I'm a healer. It means that go ahead, drink medicine for 20, 30 more years, and maybe eventually you'll be ready to do something. But for some reason, people, like, so many people came to us even from the retreats here in Colombia, guided by white people that are obviously not shamans, and they come up all sort of beaten up and screwed up because Like you're not gonna want somebody who just has a scalpel, a white robe, and a stethoscope to do a surgery on your brain, right? It's the same
Right.
thing. Like it's not just about taking ayahuasca and giving you the cup. It's much more deeper than that. Like the work shaman does, it's beyond our understanding. Pretty much, it's
So you
when
would you say more comes down from a lineage?
yeah, yeah. So if you want to talk about like golden standards when choosing a shaman, I would say number one would be if the shaman is indigenous, because it's his culture and they've been doing it for 4,000 years. The second golden standard would be if he comes from a lineage, meaning his dad was a shaman, his dad's dad was a shaman, and like this for many generations. Most likely they will not even remember when it started. So this is like a sort of Lamborghini of Titus. If you want to go, another golden standard is if the shaman has to grow his own ayahuasca, cook his own ayahuasca, and serve his own ayahuasca. There's a lot of shamans that just buy their ayahuasca. Some buy their plants and cook it. But if you want like golden standards, it means he has to have planted the seed with an intention, with the prayer, harvested the plant with an intention, with the prayer, cooked it with an intention, with the prayer, and gave it to you with an intention, the prayer, and then performed the cleaning on you with an intention, the prayer. And this is the complete process. It's like it cannot allow to leave any hands and go from one hands to another hands. Like it can only be done if it's a family. I know most of the retreats in Costa Rica, they don't cook their own ayahuasca because it doesn't grow there, and even if it grows there. By the way, a fun fact: most ayahuasca in Costa Rica and in Mexico is actually from Colombia, not from Peru.
Interesting. So going back to the lineages and that aspect, how does a Westerner coming to the medicine, how do they differentiate? How can they tell if somebody's a good shaman or a bad shaman? I mean, how are they going to know?
Well,
What is some
you
good
have to you have two choices. Either you go to the jungle and do your own research and risk on your own skin and try drinking with different people, asking questions, going to different tribes. That's what I did. Or you just find somebody like me who's already done the work and then found a good shaman and convince him to leave the jungle to give it to the city. So you don't have to go to the jungle and like risk getting malaria and dengue and Zika and all the other nasty diseases that you can get there. And then trust me that I trust my shaman that you get the good experience. And obviously I would say never drink medicine with anyone not recommended you. Like look for reviews, look for people that have done it, because it's not a joke. Really, there are spiritual consequences to drinking
really?
ayahuasca with the wrong people or drinking it by yourself as well. Like it's like with for example mushrooms, I would say you can play around with it, but not ayahuasca. Ayahuasca
Absolutely
is
not.
extremely serious.
It's a healing medicine. I mean, it's definitely a trauma medicine, and they've been using it for thousands and thousands of years. So there's something about that medicine that will truly heal you. Integration, Sam. Why do you guys go about integration? Ecuador, all these retreats really, you know, they don't down in the
You,
South Americas
you're breaking
of
up a little bit.
the fact that we have to integrate a lot.
Okay. So I think the reason South American tribes don't really have word for integration or explanation is because they still have a intact family structures, meaning that they would drink the medicine with the shaman, they would get a spiritual cleaning, and then they'd go back to their family, and they would speak to their family and be always in circles of people. So they kind of like naturally do word circles as a part of their culture. We don't. After you've done with the retreat, you go back home and you go back to your work and your limited friend group, and it's not really that common or acceptable to talk to people about your feelings or have deep conversations. So during the retreat, in order to sort of mimic what they do, we do word circles after every ceremony. um, Next day, let's say if it's a night ceremony, next day, because we do 3 night ceremonies and two day ceremonies. Next day after the ceremony, we all gather up and start talking about the experience. We all help each other unravel the experience, try to make sense out of it. And but the most important part is for the person just to take this huge amount of chaotic information you got from the medicine and put it into words, coherent words, and pass it out, and it kind of provides the relief, sort of like a talk therapy, but we do it in the group. And over time, as people drink together, they start bonding, and they get more trust, and the conversations people have start getting deeper and deeper, and really word circle is the first part of it. And second step is actually here I have it. We make those integration journals, which is
That's a good.
basically it's my own invention. I don't know any other retreat doing this, but it's basically a guide that first guides you on how to what the medicine is, how to prepare yourself, how to get the most out of it. And then it has a step-by-step instruction on basically it asks you questions, and you write down the answers, and it allows you to integrate in a sort of predictable linear manner. This is actually third iteration. I think I have a
That is
second one
really
here somewhere.
that's a really good idea. That's really cool. I like
Yeah,
that. Go ahead
give
and
me
get
one
what you're
second.
getting at. Yeah, sure.
This was our second version. As you can see, we're improving the logos and the content as well. And in the beginning,
Gotcha.
we just gave people a bunch of printed A4 papers, and but the intention is the same. It allows you to take the information. The idea is that you need to save the information, because if you don't, a week from now you won't remember. There's so many people that have done the ayahuasca retreat, and you ask them how was it, and they will say it was amazing, it was life changing, interesting. But you're like, and what about it? Like, tell me more. And they can't, because they don't remember. It's kind of like a dream. If you don't tell it to someone, or if you don't write it down, you forget it. So that's the first step, to just write it down.
Yep.
Second step, process it. Try to make sense out of it, decode your own subconscious messages, and then step three is come up with a list of actionable steps, like how to actually you're going back to the real life, how you're gonna take this information and use it. So it's like the medicine heals you, right? It takes away the pain, it
Yep.
unravels the trauma, gives you access to this information, but it's up to you to actually do the work and make the changes. So for some people that sort of believe that they can only drink ayahuasca, and then all the problems will magically go away, that's not how it works. Because I've met people who drank ayahuasca 50 times and they're still in the same place they were.
Well, because they're not integrating that work. And I think when a lot of the Westerners come home, I think an integration coach is a really good idea too. Even maybe for the first couple months or the first couple weeks to guide you through that whole catalyst of a journey.
Yeah, it's important to integrate, and it's important to not use the medicine as another escape,
Mhm.
because you will take away your symptoms for a couple months. But if you don't do the work, you'll just come back. I mean, it's good for the business, right? People would keep coming back for the retreat, but that's not what we want. We want
No,
people to have the healing.
that's definitely not what we want, to keep coming back to the medicine because, you know, my belief in behind this, Sam, and I don't know how you believe, but I think a lot of this is body trauma after so many years, just a lot of stuff embeds in your body. And I think ayahuasca and some of these other medicines relieve that because I think your mind can work through those bodies, but your body can't work through the mind. Once that
Yeah,
is embedded in your body, it's really hard to release over time. It's
yeah,
like a drug.
definitely. I've recently read this book, "Body Keeps the Score," which is sums it up really nicely. It's we store it all around in our body, in our mind. Our mind has this ability to sort of create pockets and like compartments with trauma. And when you drink ayahuasca, it just removes those walls. It unblocks it. But it still leaves you with the information, right? What do you do about it? You need to process it. So proper integration, so word circles, writing down. And we also have an integration coach on staff that for some people who want to go deeper, they can arrange the one-on-one sort of therapy sessions with the professional therapists, because some people have more trauma than others. For some people, word circles and just journaling will be enough. For others, you need to go deeper, and um, yeah, that's all. It has to be a customizable process. But the medicine, really, during the ceremony, a lot of times you'll feel tension, or you feel relaxation, or you feel pain or pleasure around your body as these things are being shifted around, sort of massaged, and sometimes removed, or sometimes just brought to the surface.
And we talk about trauma a lot, and there is no measure to somebody's trauma. Somebody's trauma could be so minute, and somebody's trauma could be so exasperated. So really, trauma is just whatever happened to you, you know?
Yeah, it is very strange because there can be two people that have experienced the same events. One will be traumatized and another won't.
Absolutely.
It's
So it's all
really unpredictable.
very unpredictable, and we shouldn't judge somebody's trauma by the lesser of it.
Yeah, it's not a competition. Like
It's really not.
sometimes people want to be like, I'm more traumatized than you, sort
Right.
of who's who's more traumatized or who's less traumatized. Yeah, it's all personal, and whichever trauma needs to be healed. And so far in my life personally, I've not found the better tools than the good plant medicines and the good integration. That's
Yep. And let's finish up here a little bit by talking about your retreat, where it's at, how people can get there, what it consists of. Why don't we talk about that a little bit?
So we are located 1 hour and 10 minutes south of Medellin. It's in a very beautiful place. We're kind of on a little mountain surrounded by valleys, and there's a big mountain near us and a beautiful valley. As I said, we do one week retreat a month. Uh, you can find us on Facebook. I don't know if you can maybe provide the link, but it's Ayahuasca in Colombia, LaWayra group, or you can just
I'll
go
I'll post
to,
that on when we're finished here. I'll put that in a
yeah.
link in the section down there. And you can also find us on our website at theplantmedicinepad.com. You can book the retreats through there also. And then if you have any questions, we'll just connect you right to Sam, or you can go on his website also and book through there.
Yeah,
So
we're currently in the process of listing all of our retreats at Mark's site, so you can find us there as well. What about our retreat? So everything I said about the golden standards of the taitas, we have them all. Our taita, he comes from a very long and very famous lineage. His dad was a taita, granddad, for many generations. His brother is also a taita. Both of his nephews are taitas. He has 2 hectares of ayahuasca that he planted himself. He grows it every time he goes back to the jungle. He cooks a fresh batch for us, comes back and brings it to us. We provide good integration with the word circles. Everything that we described. We cook good food, take good care of you. We have a good amount of helpers. On average, we have one helper per every two patients. We have a good
you could say
musician.
this, you could go to a healing retreat for right around probably $1,000 with the flight down in Colombia.
Yeah, it's it's our price is around $500, and for some people like that, if you come from Miami, I know people book tickets in advance and do it for a couple $100, and we pick you up from Medellin, so there's not much costs. We give you food, we give you water, we give you shelter, so that's pretty affordable. I think it's cheaper than a, I don't know, a cruise or a normal vacation somewhere else.
Right,
Like,
and you're healing,
no-
and you're doing something for your mental health. You're healing your mental health. And let's talk a little bit about one more thing, safety factor of Colombia, because I know a lot of us Westerners worry about safety factors down there. Very safe?
Well, Colombia is has a bad rap because in '80s there was this drug war and there was Pablo Escobar and all of that. It's all kind of over. I wouldn't say it's the safest place ever because it will never be. But I know that even on statistics, it's not in the top 100 most dangerous cities anymore like it used to be, but at least three big American cities are in that list. So if you compare Medellin to any big North American city, it's on the same level or it is safer. But the thing is that the area where we are, it's a countryside. What is the danger here is you might get robbed and stuff like that, but you're not gonna get robbed if there's nobody to rob you here. There are no people here. There's basically cows and trees and nature. So, and you don't need to even be in Medellin. You come to Medellin to the pickup spot, and we take you to the retreat, and you're very safe here. So that's definitely a lot of people when they know they need to drink ayahuasca because it's calling them, and they know there's a lot of healing to be done. Their subconscious that doesn't want to be dissolved and healed starts to come up with the excuses, and normally the excuse is it's too expensive. So we sort of address that with the cheap price, and the other excuses it's not safe. We address that too. So you're left without excuses, and you just come and get your healing, and then you never
Right.
regret.
We can address the safety factor everywhere. I mean, most of our cities in the Western world are pretty unsafe as it is. So
Yeah,
let's abolish that myth. We should abolish that myth pretty quickly.
it's a myth because at least here you're not gonna see homeless people making big lines and drugs being used openly on the street. Maybe in some very shady neighborhoods, but not. You will be. It will be hard for you to find it, which I know in the U.S. is a thing now. And I'm not hating on homeless people. Some of them are homeless for good reasons, but you would definitely feel safer in Medellin than in a lot of big cities, like including Los Angeles. I'm talking to people now that coming to retreat. One of them is from LA, and he's like, I know there's two streets to come to where he is, and he can only use one because the other one is unsafe. And it does happen here. It's not the same here. It's a bit more sort of organized or disciplined.
And it's beautiful at the same time.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, Sam, great talking to you. Awesome meeting you the last and becoming good friends the last couple months. I will definitely put a link on your website after this, and I really appreciate you, man. And we'll definitely we'll be putting your retreats on our website at theplantmedicinepat.com. And moving forward, all the retreats will be on there.
I forgot to mention one last thing. Starting
Sure.
this October's retreat that's coming up in 10 days, we are going to be offering one free seat, which is half paid by the donations of the patients and half covered by us. Meaning that every retreat will have one seat for somebody who can't afford an ayahuasca retreat but really needs it. So if you're one of those people, or if you know someone who is struggling but you know that ayahuasca will put them on the right path, then also send them our way. It's gonna be 12 people a year. It's not a lot, but it's more than zero.
I like that you're giving away a retreat, because a lot of people can't afford it. And getting somebody there like that is really, really an honorable thing. Really honorable. So
Thank you, Mark, and thanks for the work you're doing. We need people like you as well to sort of
thank you, Sam.
connect the retreats with the people, and you know, I know you're doing a good job vetting the retreats and looking for all the red flags and the retreats you offer to people. Like retreats you connect people to are definitely on the better side of the
Well, we have
spectrum.
to keep people safe, I mean, there's definitely a better way to heal besides taking meds. Medicines don't work. Prescription drugs don't work. This works, and we just got to keep people safe and guide them to safe places. And spending $1,000 on your mental health to have a beautiful life, to me, is just pocket change.
It's cheaper to pay $500 for an ayahuasca retreat once a year than paying a antidepressant subscription every month and taking them every day and just treating your symptoms and feeling like shit and dealing with all the negative side effects. So,
Negative side
absolutely.
effects. All right, brother. Nice talking to you today. Have a good day, and we'll be talking soon.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, ciao.